Hi. Hey, you guys. Welcome to another Truth Serum. My name is Celina Cordoba, and I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in and welcome everyone back on another episode. Um, these are the moments that are somewhat difficult in terms of like coming from running errands and coming from your day and thinking of ways to share and to also be able to just have a moment where you can express what you feel. Basically, right after we did our last Truth Serum, I talked a little bit about just, allowing people to be where they're at, which is a twofold meditation. It's not easy on either end, but you want to be able to care about things in life, but not hold on to anything so tight that you're not really able to shift, or that you actually begin judging or holding too much contempt in your heart. Um, that can be a very slippery scale for those that find themselves connecting with the public or connecting with a greater mindset than their own. I can only be responsible for my own thoughts, but what I find is very interesting right now is that as soon as I made a commentary just about allowing people to be where they're at, meaning that, you know, sometimes people need things to fit into their quadrant that they believe exists or that's real to them in order for things to work well. Meaning, like, sometimes women feel as though they need to have friends that share the same experiences or have gone through similar trials and tribulations as they have, when really, oppositions and dexterity and different opinions create such a beautiful composition at the end of the day. So one thing I did want to take note of is as soon as we spoke about, just people that want to skin bleach, allow them that space to do so. People that want to dress their children in hair wigs and in extensions and in things that are way externalized, stuff that has nothing to do with true sense of value or true sense of worth. This is a time to do it in. It's a very popular time to not necessarily have any beliefs anymore. Any core system of beliefs is almost like too limiting or too restricting. And one thing that I did want to mention is Azalea Banks. It's somewhat sad sometimes when you're able to see someone's progression or lack thereof. I don't enjoy speaking negatively or speaking in a space where it comes off ultra judgmental, because we really don't know what constitutes a person's life or what allows someone to feel the way they do. But one thing I will say is that, just kind of like what I said last time, there are certain platforms and there are certain microphones that are given to those that really are in a space of self-doubt and in a space of self-hate. Because isn't it easier to just be able to spew a whole bunch of disdain rather than speak from a place of clarity? Because clarity doesn't necessarily chime drama. It doesn't pay the bills. It's not as exciting. So it's always more exciting to watch someone on their personal decline than it is on their come up. At least this is what we're seeing is happening in, general society. So one thing I did want to say is that she is not, we don't know what necessarily happened to this young woman growing up, but I do have to stand up and sometimes say that is not the spokesperson for black women. There really is no one spokesperson for women of color in general. We come from various tribes, we come from a lot of different backgrounds and walks of life, and honestly, to even take it out of race, sometimes I have to make it that when I see someone like an Azalea Banks really suffering from self-degradation and a lot of pain. She might be living a very fun-filled life. So who am I to say that her life is filled with pain and is problematic when she's found her niche, when she's found her core audience? And sometimes people get famous or seek fame for the wrong reasons, just to be different, to speak outside the box, to say something that we all might not agree on. And that's very difficult to do because there is no one statement that everyone can agree on. But one thing I do want to say is that growing up in that whole Disney life, especially someone that went to school for theater, I was the only woman of color in my theater class at the time. And you know, a lot of times you find yourself either overcompensating or being apologetic. And you don't want to exist at either end of the spectrum. You don't want to be so extreme where you can't have your own voice. You have to feel as though you're diluting everything because, God forbid, us as black women say anything, then it comes off argumentative, it comes off as though we're inflexible. All of the said quo pros that come along with feeling insecure about even communicating. That's something very serious and something specific that we have to watch for, because you don't want to always be so apologetic where you're constantly diminishing something that's very potent. And in today's times, you know, it's really sad when a woman like that is considered healthy enough mentally to speak on a vast level, or to speak as though she's addressing the beliefs of other women our color. Again, there really is none. I end up feeling as though, you know, I'm speaking from that perspective because I do live a life where, you know, I am brown skin. I know what it is to sometimes feel as though people are judging, but you know, you got to be strong, whether it's your skin color or your hair texture or the shape of your nose, the shape of your face. This is a time where you really have to know why you love yourself and at least be comfortable with that act. And not a lot of people have found their way there. I can honestly look at an Azalea Banks and tell that she's felt as though she's needed to diminish her beauty. She's felt as though she isn't always heard or seen as equal because of her skin color. But these are all excuses that you give yourself, that you find yourself living with, and you wanna break through that threshold. You know, it's very sad because even though she might make good points, those points are often dwindled and negated because she's still someone that will entertain so much superfluous energy that she doesn't necessarily have to. But again, what one of us can't edit a little bit out of our lives? Who person is living such a perfect life where there isn't any self-analysis taking place, and we're so okay, we're so good that there isn't any growth, there isn't any self-exploration anymore. You don't want to get caught there either. So it's constantly this teeter-tottering of having an opinion and letting it go, you know, not trying to change anybody's perspective on what they might feel. That's a very dangerous thing to do as well. When you are in a space of being in a place where you're grateful for certain blessings in your life. You know, I want to speak from there, but I also want to pay attention to what's going on in society, which is for women, especially of my skin color, to really feel negated, to feel as though there is no hope for us, to feel as though we're never going to break through any thresholds, whether it be prosperity, finance, whether it be having to coon ourselves or show aspects of our bodies that don't necessarily equate to thinking outside of the box. I can tell you that Azalea Banks is not someone that is well. She unfortunately probably didn't have someone that could, you know, sew in and weave in those moments of greatness where she didn't always feel as though she had to compare herself to someone Caucasian or to a beauty that was lighter skinned. You know, it's a very sad thing because they don't talk about the side effects of these creams, of these lotions, but literally the next day a couple people wrote me and were like, can you believe Azalea Banks with this whitening cream? And it's like, but that's her lane. That's what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to be in a state of confusion because that's what she exists. That's what she shows the world. Yeah, you can have these strong revolutionary, and I say revolutionary like, you know, we're trying to grow or become more than the sum of our parts. But some people really are born here to entertain the dogma, to entertain the drama all the time, to not think of why they are even motivated to want to get, you know, certain body work done or certain, and I'm not talking about like your nose, you know, you have a deviated septum in your nose and you can't breathe well. You know, I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about simply the fact that it's not popular to have a wide set nose. So what I'm going to do, Kelly Rowland, Beyonce, and a whole bunch of other people, is figure out a way to not look to myself. Now, I'm not saying that that was the conversation that those two young women had, but someone is obviously influencing them to feel as though what they come with is not enough. But again, what's perpetuated and what's thrusted into the minds of the people is what becomes comfortable. So this is really another reason why I find myself having to take a couple minutes and just find a little pocket of sun and say, no, there are more people out there that exist that do share the same belief systems, that do see us as women having to really negate our worth by looking sexually liberated or comfortable, or by entertaining so much extra superfluousness just to feel as though you're fitting in or you're not going to be excluded. For years you can feel like that. The same thing as an Azalea Banks. You can feel as though lightening your skin is going to solve the problem, make you more approachable, but it's actually going to give more problems long run. It's going to cause more ailments, more skin ailments, more mental ailments. No one really checks in to do the due diligence as to what's happening with our minds. So let me make sure this is still running. I don't even know anymore. Yes, it is. Okay, so that's basically it. I'm trying not to go over a certain amount of time, but I'm also trying to be mindful of the fact that there's so much that can be chewed in between 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And it's to say again, this is the time to really showboat and showcase energy that is out of flux, because then that will invigorate and motivate people to be just as out of flux. There's very few things that are showcased that's not so ripping each other apart. I do commend Azalea Banks for taking strides in music, for recording what she felt she needed to share with the rest of the world. And again, that's a moment in time. I don't want to hold her accountable to it, but I also don't want to co-sign or to be in a state of agreement that skin bleaching is the way, or having to date outside of one's race solely not because you're in love or you fell in love, but solely to be taken serious or to be accepted in certain aspects of society, when who knows, we might be accepted with way more if we believed that ourselves, or we challenged the set pro quo and actually did something outside of the popular idea of the moment. It's a very alienating feeling. It's something that I actually talk to Asir about all the time, in the fact that sometimes a lot of people don't know how to add on or to contribute, or possibly it could even be our energy and not wanting to invite different thoughts. But I can't be the spokesperson for all black women because I don't share a lot of the same experiences that most may. That's why it's very good, and I actually do enjoy those that have had a multitude of sexual partners, because this is how we grow. We don't grow by staying in the same think tank. We don't grow by wanting to do the same things or wanting to entertain the same beliefs. We grow by being sometimes challenged in what we think, by reading an article that might be outside of what we believed in the moment. You don't want to hold on to any belief system so much that you're incapable of seeing the beauty, or incapable of riding the wave of someone else's, flow. I often agree and am in agreement with a lot that people that don't share the same experiences, which goes to say that, you can find truth and beauty in everything. It's based on what we are choosing to focus on. So, I really did want to take a minute and say, bah humbug to, only support through self-degradation taking place. It's still beautiful to breed brown skin, even though it's not showcased as much. We have to showcase ourselves rather than wait for someone to give us permission to do so. The same thing, relationships are a very finicky thing. You want to be able to have a sacred space that is yours, but also be able to talk about things that you experienced in order to hopefully influence someone to not necessarily have to run down the same hallway in order to get to a new space. So I say all this to say that, everyone's voice is needed, but definitely it's up to us to look beyond what people are saying and to start to almost give band-aids to those that might not even know that they're in pain. Some people don't want to be helped. Some people don't think that there's anything wrong with how they think or how they function. And it's not for me to say that there is. What is for me to say is that, you know, there is more than one voice, and unfortunately, those voices aren't always given a platform to be heard. So no, by no means are us black women feeling as though we have to skin bleach or support energy that says, hey, unless you do, you won't be taken seriously. That is false, and it's unnecessary in 2015. Also, you know, you don't have to ride a lot of horses in order to be a good horseback rider. Meaning, you don't have to have or feel as though you need to be pressured to be sexually illicit or sexually inviting in order to speak about sex in a healthy way. The same thing, you don't have to feel as though you need to entertain even me if it's not something that you see is maybe helping you think outside of the box. That's specifically my joy and purpose in life, is to hopefully be able to weave in certain ways that people can heal themselves and be of service to their families and to each other, but also to take a minute out to say, hey, you know, what's being shown is not the only thing that exists in the world. So much love to everyone. Thank you for having patience through my sweaty sweats. I try to sit in a well-lit place, and we're going to continue this meditation. Love and light to everybody that's out there, and remind yourself by even looking in your daughter's faces at night or your son's faces before they go to sleep, before you shut off the lights, look in the mirror and remind your children of what makes them powerful, what creates their specific beauty, and you know that you don't always have to have $1 million or a lot of money in your bank account in order to move energy or to feel prosperous. That's another thing. You know, of course, I am saving money diligently to, you know, advance my life, to hopefully not have to wait for certain public forms of transportation. But don't down yourself and feel as though you haven't accomplished stuff because maybe things in your past required you to be of service to your family or to be of service to your loved one or to your mate. Sometimes, you know, it's a balance between being selfish and being selfless. So we want to find that balance in everything, and know that even if you haven't made it, you're making it. And that's always the better part of the journey, to be on one rather than get to the destination and not know why you even, you know, did so much to be there. So love and light to you guys. I appreciate the moment, and we will talk again very soon. True Serum. Love you. Peace.